Ladies and gentlemen, we're into week 11. It is fantasy football season coming to the fantasy football playoffs. Kevin Tompkins, Andrew Cooper, Britt Flinn will be joining us. It is lightning round here. Fantasy Alarm, Better Sports Network. Coop, my man. The double-digit weeks are here. They're upon us. What a game last night. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, dude. And double digits. I'm doing double duty today. No producer for some reason here in the show. So I'm in charge, dude. I got keys to the castle. So pretty much I'm the boss right now. I can do whatever I want.
True. And yeah, that's pretty true. That's true. And yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's pretty true. That's pretty true. I mean, that's true. Yeah.
That clip never gets old because it is such an uncomfortable amount of it's true. Yeah, that's pretty true.
It goes on. It goes on for longer. I actually ended it before it was even over. There's actually a couple more. There's actually a couple more in that clip. But
the director's cut of that is actually like a 3. They showed that at Cannes, I believe.
That's right, dude. Yeah, no, it's a long one, and it won. It won. A couple people walked out during the final It's Trues, and they honestly, when they heard what happened after that, they were really disappointed that they missed the end of it because it's a good one.
Right. And they had those guys up on the stage show and they asked them, about those last It's Trues, and they missed out. There was so much nuance and so much behind, peek behind the curtain.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm in charge, so I can play it again if you want, but maybe we'll keep the people waiting. We'll keep the people hoping. So
we can mix that clip in, and maybe we'll throw some fantasy football in there, but it's going to be that clip mostly today.
Mostly that clip, yeah, but some fantasy football. Yeah. We await Miss Britt Flinn. She will be with us today. She is with ESPN Chattanooga during her weekly segment with them, but she'll be with us soon. ESPN the Noog, the 4-digit Noog, but she'll be with us soon. So we await Britt Flinn. And also now people are popping in. Adam Bernard in the producers here. Britt's here. Let's get her up and running. And also people popping in the chat. What's up, Albert? How's everybody doing today? Let's talk a little bit of football. There she is.
There she is.
Hey, guys.
How was the Noog?
It was great. It was wonderful. We actually did a trade on air. So that was really fun to do. Makes me feel very good. I'm 7-3. I scored 205 points in that league this week. So I kind of feel like nobody can stop me.
205. Who you starting at tight end?
I mean, I had Travis Kelce. He was on a bye this week. So I started Musgrave, which was fine.
Getting by.
I also started Sam Howell over Trevor Lawrence, which was the move. And Keenan Allen was in my lineup. So pew, pew, pew.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Keenan Allen is our Lord and Savior. So we all had that going for us.
Definitely.
He's a star. And see, here's the thing. Everyone was like, oh, he's going to get released. He's old. And then Tom Telesco came out this offseason and was like, Keenan Allen not going anywhere. He goes, he's our Charlie Joyner. That was the exact name he dropped. For those that don't know, Charlie Joyner joined the Chargers at Keenan Allen's age, and then he played till he was like 38. So according to Tom Telesco, Keenan Allen just getting started.
And he's the gargoyle on The Masked Singer. Got the voice of an angel.
You and Ani Cooper on top of that one, I'll tell you guys. I've learned a lot about The Masked Singer, all of it against my will, from you and Ani Cooper.
I don't know if you got. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say you need to give me Ani Coop's number so that we can actually talk. Yeah. And instead of saying, hey, Coop, tell Ani Coop this.
Trust me.
Coop, tell Britt this.
Yes. Next time next time it comes across any sort of talk of that kind comes across my screen, I will direct link you guys because I'm out on the map. I've actually never even watched one episode of Masked Singer, but I've heard about many of them.
Yeah, it's so good.
Neither have I. And I think a big signal for Keenan Allen really should have been that I was fully in on him as a noted ageist and hater of most old players. The fact that I was in on Keenan Allen at price probably should have told you guys, hey, maybe we should draft this guy.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But look, with the double-digit weeks here, obviously fantasy playoffs coming in. Speaking of coming in, a lot of people coming into the chat. What is up, Hal? Of course, we got some Twitch gang hopping in here. We got some questions that we will be answering here. Obviously, yeah. Throw on all the pairs of shades that you got, Coop, because
the Twitch. I do throw on a lot of different shades. We've got shades for different occasions. The Miami hangover shades for teams that play in Miami and they blow it. But no, these are the special Twitch Gang glasses, the red for the Twitch Gang. Shout out to we got Brad McCoy in the chat, dude. E. Simon. We got the gang. Twitch Gang's representing today. Some days they don't show. Today they're here. Let's go, baby. What's up?
Yeah. Twitch Gang, we're getting some questions filtered in. We will definitely answer those here in just a second. Just want to kind of set the table for today as far as what we're doing. Look, we some players, from when we looked at them in the preseason, we had, kind of that preconceived notion of what they were going to do, how they're going to be involved in offenses. It's really not a who we got wrong, who we got right. It's who our opinions have changed on as far as, how we perceive this player then to now and how we can use that to change some of the information in a player. For me, we just talked about him, kind of Keenan Allen, where, we knew he was going to be a target earner with the Chargers, but I mean, man, I know Mike Williams went down, the ancillary guys with Josh Palmer getting hurt, Quentin Johnston being kind of up and down, has really put Keenan Allen into this dude has to get 34 or 35% of the targets every single week. And the fact that Justin Herbert in this, Kellen Moore offense, throwing the ball all over the place, he has pretty much been the primary read almost every single time and it's obviously helped us here. Keenan Allen's been just a destroyer of worlds this season. Actually, since he came back last season, he was wide receiver 2 at the end of last season, I think for the last 8 weeks, only behind Justin Jefferson, and has kept that up all season. So look, Keenan Allen, I don't think we all saw maybe this kind of production continuing. We thought it maybe would taper off a little bit just because of more weapons, but the fact that they haven't had the full complement of weapons in Los Angeles has really boosted up Keenan Allen. And if you had to redraft fantasy football starting now, you'd be taking him at the end of the first round.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, when you look around the wide receiver landscape and what makes certain guys good or not, you have to think about what their skill set is and how that's going to translate to aging, right? Like the guys, if you rely on speed, you're in trouble. Like unless you're Deshaun Jackson or T.Y. Hilton and you can keep that speed up and train the way, if anyone's seen the way Deshaun Jackson used to train in like high school and stuff, like you can understand why that guy can keep his speed going. Like that dude was working out like 3 a.m. With his helicopter dad, but like a lot of these guys, you lose the speed or you get an injury and you lose that, like one cut burst. Guys like Dez Bryant and Jordy Nelson that used to just take slants to the house. Once that was gone, they kind of tapered off a little bit. Whereas some of these other guys where they rely on body control and hands and they were never fast. Keenan Allen's slow as hell, dude. He's like bottom 15 percentile in speed. Guys like him, Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, like these guys can play forever because all they're doing is using their positioning and their incredible hands. So like, I think Keenan Allen's not just this year, but he's got probably a knock on wood, as long as he's healthy, a few more years of doing this exact kind of thing, because when you watch him play, there's no reason he can't keep doing it because it's not flashy. It's not fast. It's just business.
And I will say something else about Keenan Allen, because this can sometimes harm wide receiver ones when their secondary receiving options go out. Teams can tend to double team them to kind of take them out of the game just because they focus their entire defensive scheme on stopping this one player. Keenan Allen hasn't let that happen. He still gets open because of his exceptional route running, and then he can still get yards after the catch. I mean, it's truly a testament to how good of a football player this guy is.
Yeah. And gang, would you say that Keenan Allen is a professional wide receiver? Bring that back.
Dude. Truly though, I mean, like he's the definition, man. Like just does everything exactly right. So let's just keep him healthy, baby. And yes, in the chat, Patrick G has it right. Allen is a G.
Yeah. If anybody would know who is G, it's the guy who has G in his YouTube name,
I'd say.
Do you think that's why he went with Gargoyle? Because the Gargoyle is a G?
You never know. That's the secrets. That's the secrets of the Masked Singer. They can't reveal their secrets, Britt, or do they? Actually, I think the whole show is premised on them slowly revealing secrets. Is it not?
Well, it's clues. It's not secrets. It's just clues.
Okay, same thing. So I got a player that Britt actually mentioned earlier. You mentioned you started Sam Howell over Trevor Lawrence early on. I was not sold on Sam Howell because people were saying he was going to run for like 1,000,000 yards and be this like mobile QB, and I didn't really see that. But the thing is, he hasn't had to be that. So Sam Howell's a guy I was kind of down on, and I'm willing to say that not only is he not bad, but he's good for fantasy, and he might actually be making an argument to be the guy of the future. For a while there, it was like he'd come out, have a bunch of turnovers, but also just keep chucking and throw some touchdowns. Now he's kind of cleaning it up a little bit. I mean, I know they're throwing more than any other team, and it skews the stats, and his rate stats aren't amazing, but he's also still a rookie. So this guy, Sam Howell, has really grown on me, definitely for fantasy. I find it hard, like in this current landscape, you have to kind of really stretch the imagination to not have him in your top 10 rest of the season, right?
He's borderline for me.
Yeah, I will say, and I talked about this on the show just before this one on ESPN, the fantasy playoffs kind of look really tough for him because he's got the Rams, although they did give up a ton of yardage to Dak Prescott. Overall, they've been pretty good against quarterbacks as far as fantasy points go. Then they have the Jets, then they have the 49ers. So if you're looking at him for the fantasy football playoffs, it might just be a little bit more difficult, and you might want to have a pivot. But yeah, what he's done so far this season, especially getting sacked as many times as they've allowed him to get sacked, is just really, really impressive.
Yeah. I'll say that, you know, those are tough matchups, but I mean, like he was definitely able to hang with the Eagles twice now, you know, he hung with the Cowboys. So I don't know, maybe not crazy, or he has played the Cowboys yet, but he hung with the Eagles twice, dropped over 30 points on both of them. So maybe.
Yeah, Howell's been pretty solid. I mean, the fact that, you know, what was the stat? He threw for like over 300 yards and like only 80 were to the wide receivers. Like, you know, is something crazy like that. But
right.
Look, he's been great for fantasy. He is, you know, maybe not as good in like the real life NFL. Although, look, Washington really doesn't have a lot of options right now as far as, you know, unless they want to dip back into the draft. But as a guy who was, you know, 2 years ago, like the top quarterback coming out of, you know, North Carolina, and then kind of fell from grace a little bit, and Howell snagged by the Commanders. I mean, I think they've done a pretty good job of at least letting him kind of pass through it. They are the third highest team in pass rate over expected behind the Chiefs and the Bengals. So look, if they're going to keep throwing the ball, you know, the only way you're going to learn is by just kind of throwing through it. So
yeah, they've dropped back to pass 78 more times or 77 more times than the next highest team. And that team, you know, they haven't had their bye week yet, but if you even go through and find the team so Joe Burrow would be next highest, right? Of a team that's had his bye week, he's dropped back to pass 383 times. Sam Howell's dropped back to pass 468 times. So one bye week isn't going to correct that number. Like, I think Sam Howell he's on pace to shatter the record for dropbacks, and he's probably going to lead the league. But of course, you know, he drops back a ton, doesn't always throw it though, right? Like he gets sacked a ton, throws it away, doesn't count as an attempt, you know, scrambles a little bit. So he actually isn't that far ahead of everybody else in attempts. But in terms of them calling the pass plays
called, yeah.
They're calling them like crazy.
Let's get into some of these questions here. Start out with Twitch Gang here. Brad McCoy, what's up, guys? Twitch Gang. I'm at 4-6 now. Have Justin Jefferson. I don't know if he's coming back this week or not. Do I trade him and Mostert for Saquon, Michael Pittman, and Deontay Johnson? I mean, it's obviously the window is open for Jefferson right now. I just can't really quantify trading him for, you know, kind of Saquon, Pittman, Johnson. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm kind of on the fence on it, but I would rather keep the best player in the trade in Jefferson coming back with a renewed kind of optimism for the Vikings passing game with our cover boy this week, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Somebody actually offered me a trade for Jefferson about a week or two ago because he was still on IR, but I'm not getting rid of him. I fully believe in Josh Dobbs. A lot of the pundits out there say that Jefferson is actually going to be better with Josh Dobbs because he doesn't have that hesitancy and he has that mobility in the pocket that allows him to scan the field a little bit longer than Kirk Cousins simply just going through the reads and potentially taking a sack. So I'm holding on to Justin Jefferson. I know that Achane is back. Achane, as explosive as he is not going to phase out Mostert. Mostert is still going to get his.
Yeah.
I fully believe it.
The only reason I would do that trade is hypothetically, if Saquon, Pittman, and Deontay Johnson would all go directly into your lineup, and you think
Yeah,
you're
if
going
you're
to
starting like Jahan Dotson, like your
Right.
wide receiver 3, then yeah.
and you think you're going to lose this week, like, because if you lose, you're done, right? If you had 7 losses in most formats, you're probably not going to make the playoffs. And if you think about it, if Jefferson doesn't play this week, then he comes back for week 12, and then week 13 right after that he goes on bye, then you're kind of, I mean, you're probably going to lose one of those games anyway. So if your back is really up against the ropes, maybe I would do it, but you also have to worry that maybe you're creating a monster by giving, if you know the other team you're trading with is like 9-1, and you give him Justin Jefferson, it might not even matter what your team does. So there's a lot that goes into these trades. That's the only way I would do it, but I'm probably with these guys that you just keep your best players and you hope for the best.
Uncle Ted here. If Keaton Mitchell is a must add, then so is Rico Dowdle. Tim Robinson, are you sure about that?
I don't know. Well, the thing with Rico Dowdle is that game got out of hand, man. It was a complete
As like all
blowout.
Cowboys games do.
It's crazy that either one way or the other, right? Like
Yeah.
they either like they destroyed the Giants. They got crushed by the 49ers. George Kittle scored 3 touchdowns on 3 passes, the most George Kittle day ever. Right. But
The
like
Jerome Bettis game.
they've had a few of those games that you look back and you're like when I do my usage report on Monday, I went through and I was like, I don't even really care about this game because it wasn't real, you know? So I don't know. Keaton Mitchell is like, I think he's got a real carved out role, whereas Rico Dowdle's role is just backup.
Yeah. As the resident Cowboys fan, yeah, I know that Pollard has disappointed, but yeah, they're not going to go away from him. Like I didn't include Dowdle on my waiver wire article specifically because it's a usage thing.
Yeah.
Ted coming back. Wait, did you say Justin Jefferson's better off with Dobbs than Cousins? I mean, you could certainly see that with how much, on pass plays called, if Dobbs is being able to scramble and get around, sacks and all that. I could definitely see the reasoning behind that. But Britt, defend your take. I guess we're going first take here. So Shannon, sorry, Stephen A, sorry, Britt.
Well, it wasn't even my take. All I said was some of the pundits are saying that Jefferson is better off with Dobbs than Kirk. We don't know because we haven't seen it. I'm simply a messenger and reporting it. But what I will say is that ability to scramble could potentially make that come true.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Just gives more opportunities. Absolutely. All right, let's go up to the
Simon had the most recent question.
Yeah, my mouse is completely whacked out right now. I got to change the battery. I'm being offered McBride or Schultz. Who should I take with Ertz coming back to hurt McBride? That's the $1 million question with Trey McBride. And I can't, this has been my quote du jour, or at least of the year, is you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once Trey McBride is out of it. So I would be taking Trey McBride, though. Dalton Schultz is, in this offensive environment with the Texans, has been pretty damn fantastic. But Trey McBride is just the upside, what he offers with Kyler now as pretty much a top 2 target on the offense. Isn't a gimmick or gadgety type guy. Taking McBride.
Yeah, I think that guys like McBride and Kincaid at this stage aren't going to go back to just being like a 50-50 rotation where they come out of the game. I think that the team's just going to – and the thing is with Dawson Knox, they were working him into the game anyway. And I think they're just going to find ways to get these guys on the field at the same time. Now, the thing with both these players is that regardless of who you have, you should probably have 2 tight ends on your roster because, one, Trey McBride still has a bye week. Right. And he also has the uncertainty with Zach Ertz. So you're going to need somebody anyway. With Dalton Schultz, the problem you run into is that Schultz has easily the worst playoff schedule of any tight end. Because I started looking at it early, we're getting to that point. And I was hopeful that Kevin Byard being out would, being traded to the Eagles would mean that the Titans weren't as good versus the tight end. This week, Cade Otton had been on kind of a tear. They really shut him down. So upcoming is he's got a matchup this week, the Titans and the Jaguars. I'd be paying really close attention to what Evan Ingram does, because if the Titans shut him down too, the schedule for Dalton Schultz in playoffs goes Titans, who right now are like the 4th best team versus tight end, the Browns, who are the number 1 team versus tight end, and then the Titans again. And if that week one, let's say you have a bye week or you survive the first matchup versus the Titans, but Schultz does bad, are you really going to start Schultz versus the Browns and then start him again versus the Titans? No, you're going to need somebody else. So personally, I'm just going to go Trey McBride for that alone. But regardless of which ones you have, I wouldn't just say, okay, I have McBride now, I'm all set. I have Schultz now, I'm all set. You still need to focus on the position and make sure that you're preparing for the worst, and at least preparing for McBride's bye week.
And I will add in there, it does seem like Arizona and their offensive playbook is really geared towards the tight end. I think over 30% of their targets are going towards the tight end position. It didn't change with Kyler Murray coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Nico Collins potentially coming back, Robert Woods being back in that rotation, John Mechie even made an appearance last week. We don't really know how that target share on this Texans offense is going to be split. And Noah Brown, as much as he's come on, I don't necessarily know that you can take him out of the rotation either. So I think that results in a lower target share for Schultz. And as you mentioned, Coop, that is very, very difficult in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep. 32% of the targets to the tight end position for the Cardinals. Second to only are our Falcons, our Arthur Smith led Falcons with 35%. So love to see it. Uncle Ted back in here. Buy Julio Jones cheap now. He'll get those Goddard targets over the middle. JJ could still smoke all linebackers. Well, unless he's changed his position to tight end and has shed the fancy Quez Watkins label. Don't quite see that. Look, Philadelphia is so condensed. They were condensed already to AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Goddard. You take one of those guys out now. Quez Watkins, when Goddard was out, didn't really do much, in that long stretch of games last season. So this is just something that, Julio Jones is out here for a ring. I don't know if he's in for 60 to 70% of the routes though, with more than like a handful of targets. So Julio Jones, unless you see something crazy happen for multiple weeks, I don't think you can really bank on any kind of production from him.
Yeah, and that's the thing with last year, Quez Watkins' targets doubled when Goddard was out from
1 to 2.
Yeah, 2 to 4. 2 to just about 4. So it's like, who cares? And the thing is, Julio Jones has another battle to win first, which is that since he's joined the team, Olamide Zaccheaus has played more snaps than him in every single game. So he's not even he doesn't even have an entire role to himself. He has half of a role, and as of right now, the lesser half of the role. So it's a interesting thought. But I don't know if I would buy him. I don't think you have to. I think what you do is you can sneak him onto the very, very bottom of your bench. If you have 10 bench spots.
And if you look at the playoffs again, because that's at the point of the season that we're in, the schedule for the Eagles looks very favorable for the running game. I mean, they've got the Seahawks, they've got the Giants, and then they have the Cardinals. So I don't know how much they're going to be passing to their auxiliary passing options when they have a schedule like that.
Yeah. As a noted ageist, I love having a bunch of rookies on my team. So if I need some veteran leadership at the end of my fantasy football bench, I will add Julio Jones just to kind of mentor those players. But other than that,
make sure you sit him with your underperformer so he motivates him specifically.
Oh, I got a lot of those. Trust me. Yeah. Jahan Dotson needs it now more than ever. Back to Uncle Ted here. Odell Beckham is a must-add. Great team. No absolute number one wide receiver. In a world where Mark Andrews exists, where I count him as a wide receiver because the dude hasn't blocked since the Clinton administration.
Yeah, and I like Bateman's. I like Rashad Bateman's usage lately. He's trended up. He's the one that played in 11 personnel, played more snaps than Odell. So if I'm going to
get healthy,
I'm going to sneak him in there. And I just wanted to mention, since we're talking about Mark Andrews, Sellers saying we got to talk about your tight end rankings. What happened to Laporta? Yeah, not a good game, even though he had a good matchup. But I had Laporta ranked ahead of Mark Andrews, and he outscored Mark Andrews. So what are you going to do? I mean, the thought process in the rankings was is that there's 4 guys that I was going to have at the top: Laporta, Andrews. Andrews had a terrible matchup versus the Browns. Kincaid, who I kind of wanted to put at 1, but couldn't really do it given the consistency of Laporta, and then TJ Hawkinson. And then when Ed Werder came out and said TJ Hawkinson's hurt, we had to move him down a little bit. And again, he was hurt. He played hurt all game and played amazing, right? But you have to, like, he even went to the tent during the game. So you have to factor those little things in when you're splitting hairs at the top. So, you know what? Sam Laporta is still a guy that we're going to start every week. I don't see why we would stop.
And who knew that it was going to be the Brock Wright touchdown vulture game?
Right, exactly.
You can't account for that at all.
It's like the 86-yard Pharaoh Brown. Hunter Henry had a great matchup one week, and Pharaoh Brown scores a touchdown. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Brock Wright had more air yards on that touchdown pass than he had combined from weeks 1 to 9. So you gotta love it.
The zebra king. That's what they call him.
We'll answer this one question, then we'll get back into our topic. Is there any reason outside of injury for me to keep both Kincaid and Hawkinson? They both had the same bye week. Which would you trade and for who? I think I'd be I don't know if I'd be selling high because I obviously I like Hawkinson, I like Kincaid, but I think I'd be trading Kincaid, honestly, just with the state of the Bills offense. I know there's been a lot. Ken Dorsey was fired this morning as offensive coordinator, which I think really was just kind of a scapegoat thing because I think the Bills had much more issues than just on their offense. But I think I'd be keeping Hawkinson and seeing what I can get, for Kincaid. He scored a touchdown last night and kind of use that, to upgrade whatever you need on your offense. But what do you guys think?
So I see this mistake a lot with trading. Like it happens all the time where people don't make players available. You know what I mean? They automatically just say, I'm trading this guy and I'm not trading that guy. And it makes the other person say, well, what's wrong with this guy? I want the other guy. Make both players available and just make the price for Hawkinson higher, right? And if you can get the higher price for Hawkinson, I would even make the price for Hawkinson higher than you would even make it that it's like unreasonable. You make it Tyreek Hill if you want, you know what I mean? But make the price for Hawkinson. Look at the other guy's team and pick his best players. Say, if you want Hawkinson, it's this guy. And then you say, hey, you know what? If you want Kincaid, then we can figure it out. And if you can get the better deal for Hawkinson, do it. If not, then trade Kincaid, which is probably what you want to do with Dawson Knox coming back anyway. But make them both available in perception, right? You don't want to handcuff yourself. And to anybody out there that wants to get better at trading in fantasy football, I suggest go out and read the book Never Split the Difference by this guy Voss. This guy was a hostage negotiator. And he retired from that and then went to this thing at MIT where it's all students and professors doing business bargaining, and he crushed everybody. And at the end they were like, why are you so good at this? And he goes, because I come from hostages and I know when it comes to a hostage, you can't split the difference. You have to get the whole hostage. You can't ever get half of it. So, and the whole book goes into the psychology and stuff of negotiating, right? And I read it for when I was doing real estate, but I've since read it again doing this because I was like, I'm using this more than I ever was doing real estate.
Yeah, that's obviously a good point. I will say another mistake that people make just with these questions is we don't know what your team looks like and we don't know what the other teams look like. So it's very hard to say who would I trade for and who. We need some more context to go out there and completely answer that question.
Right. Just make this is what I do. And it comes straight from that book is figure out what it is you want, right? It might just be one player or it could be a wide range of players. Make a list of what you're willing to give up and what you're not willing to give up. And then pick the one thing you want and then go into negotiations saying everything's available and give away the entire list of things that you don't care about if you have to, just to get the one thing you want. And then at the end, you'll have all the things that you wanted, and who cares about the rest of the stuff?
I dig it. I'm not a reader, but I will definitely check that book out.
The second time
does this look like a face that reads?
I read it the first time. The second time I listened to it, so it is available on tape.
You don't read, Kevin.
Reading. So all right, so I know we talked, let's get back on track here a little bit. Britt, who's a player for you that your opinion has kind of changed from the beginning of the season to now?
So I'll start off with a good thing here. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. I thought going into the season that last year they just ran him into the ground. I also had some offensive line concerns. I had some concerns about opposing defenses not respecting the run game with Jimmy Garoppolo and his quarterback with a weak offensive line, but he's shown us different. He's RB4 in PPR leagues. Granted, a lot of that has come from dump offs and targets and things like that, but he's still getting it done. Now with interim head coach Antonio Pierce saying that he wants to rely on the run game going forward, and Jacobs specifically, you've got to be in on him going the rest of the way. He's been one of the only consistent producers on this Raiders offense, and that's even above Devontae Adams. So I have to eat my words. I was wrong on Josh Jacobs, and going forward, I mean, maybe the holdout was good for him. He's proving why he was worth it.
Yeah, like Antonio Pierce, it reminds me of Jeff Saturday, but smarter and much more likable. But his commitment to the run game is never wavering. I mean, his top two games as far as rushing attempts, 26 and 27 in the last 2 weeks. Like, we could be looking at somebody who's just going to crush down the stretch, and there's not a lot of resistance in his playoff schedule too. Look, Minnesota, Chargers, I mean, Kansas City's tough. At Indianapolis is certainly a let up from that week 16, but I'd say it's pretty favorable for a team that, that maybe they want to, Aiden O'Connell, maybe they want to hide him a little bit, but at least having a running back like Josh Jacobs can certainly help you do that. And then once you sell out for the run, you got, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. So I think having Josh Jacobs is such a great thing for an offense that has to kind of find its way post Josh McDaniels. But yeah, I've been a noted Josh Jacobs hater, but look, he works in the receiving game too. He gets a ton of volume. Not much to hate. Not like David Montgomery, but I've come around on him too.
Right. And as to the Antonio Pierce point, it's like a couple wars in Europe told us that appeasement is not the answer. But with Antonio Pierce, he's come out and straight up said that's the game plan here, right? He's like, I'm the guy the players like. All the bad guys are gone now. He said straight up, I know who the good players are.
We are rebuilding war-torn Europe right now.
Yeah, he said, this is the Marshall Plan over there in for the Raiders. And they basically said, Antonio Pierce said, hey, they said, oh, you got 10 targets to Devontae Adams. He goes, yeah, I know who the good players are, right? Like, so it's going to be Jacobs. It's going to be Devontae Adams. It's noted that noted Josh McDaniels guy, Jacoby Myers, only got like 2 targets. So that's a little bit scary. Jimmy G's already lost his job. So I don't know. It sounds like they're letting the inmates run the asylum, as McNair once said.
We've seen the locker room videos. Like, it is true inmates run the asylum in Vegas.
Oh, they're playing. They're having fun. It's okay.
They're playing basketball and like they're all smoking cigars and like
the cigars is a little crazy. But the thing is though, like, I don't mind videos like that because it's better for them to be hanging out in the locker room, hanging out with each other and being friends and stuff, than everybody goes to work. And then after work, you just go home and then you go and get into trouble in Las Vegas. Like, yeah, there's a lot more trouble to be had in Las Vegas than smoking cigars in the locker room and shooting around some mini basketballs. That's what I'm saying. So the fact that they're all hanging out and they seem like they're friends, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for fantasy football that now only the best players are getting the football too.
TED Talk. Best players get football equals success.
Antonio Pierce. I'm Antonio Pierce. Thanks for listening.
Next time though, please try Michael Mayer. Thank you.
The TED Talk voice.
Oh my God. Yeah. So as far as another player for me, like Christian Watson, look, I don't know if it's really a byproduct. It's probably both. The byproduct of how not great the Packers offense has been, plus Watson himself. It seems like he's not fighting for the football once it gets to him. He's been the target on 2 game-sealing interceptions for the opposing team, and it has not been good, like against the Steelers, where, Jordan Love's been just shorting the ball to him. I'm not going to get into a Jordan Love take, but just as far as, as much as I want to, but look, this whole offense has just been bad. Romeo Dobbs scored a touchdown and everything like that, but Christian Watson, based on where we were drafting him at the end of the 3rd round, early 4th, right now he doesn't have a game over 3 receptions. It's not good, and it's making me have to eat my words as a Fargo resident, as a Packer fan, as a guy who cannot say anything bad about Christian Watson. It's not Jover till it's Jover, but we're Jover adjacent.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the end of the world for him, especially in Dynasty. But in redraft, that's a great point. That it's like you have to look at what the QB does, right? When Teddy Bridgewater comes to a team, whenever he gets a start, you got to know whoever's running the deep routes is probably in trouble because he just doesn't like throwing them, right? And there's some quarterbacks that love it. Like Deshaun Watson, as of late, has been, Amari Cooper's 5 catches for over 100. Like that seems to be the plan. You know
What's
what I
up
mean?
with
Like,
these former Dallas receivers like Noah Brown, Mari Cooper, Britt? Sorry, I know that kind of stung.
I have an answer. It's because Jerry Jones is dumb.
Right. Yeah, there's a picture of the 3 of those guys going off, but Brandon Cooks went off. So maybe we're back. Maybe we're back. Yeah, but the thing is, Christian Watson, like if he was in the right spot, then he would be the guy getting those looks. But it all depends on the tendencies of the quarterback. Like we've learned, some of the mobile quarterbacks at times don't like throwing it up for grabs to some degree. Some of them do, but like Sam Howell, he does not like taking a 3-step drop and just throwing a fade ball to Jahan Dotson, right? So he's not willing to do that. But a guy like Justin Herbert is willing to do that with Mike Williams and just throw it up for grabs. And that's why Mike Williams is good, even though they're similar type players. So it boils down to QB tendencies a lot of times. So I'm not writing Christian Watson off completely in Dynasty, but for redraft, it does not look like Jordan Love likes throwing that type of pass, right?
Yep.
I mean, he does throw that pass. He's got one of the bigger ADOTs among quarterbacks, but he's just not very good with it. So,
right.
Well, that was his situation in college.
Yeah.
He, had a decent ADOT, not great, but every time that ADOT increased, his interceptions just dramatically increased because that deep ball accuracy just isn't quite there. And that's where Christian Watson lives and dies, is by the deep ball. So it's just not a good mesh. It's not a good synergy going on there.
The feng shui is definitely off in Packerland. Let's get back a little Twitch gang trade question here. Should I trade Saquon for Pollard? Gotta put on the Twitch gang glasses.
Twitch gang. So this is this actually question goes with our show today, because a player that I had on the sheet was Tony Pollard, right? Because for years now I was not on Tony Pollard, not because I didn't think he was good, right? Kev's going to take a little breather there while we talk about Tony Pollard. Britt, you're a Cowboys fan too. Now, it's not that I don't think Tony Pollard is good. There was at no point did I say that Tony Pollard is not good. But for years, I was like, they use Zeke in this specific role. He, gets the pass blocking work and he gets the goal line work, and that's going to hurt Tony Pollard. And for a long time, that was the case. Last year, he did really well when they just used Zeke as the battering ram, and then he got everything else, right? This year, I wonder. So this year, I finally was in. I finally was convinced to be in on Tony Pollard. I didn't even have to be convinced.
And the rug pull.
Yeah, and then the classic rug pull. But I don't even think that he's bad. I wonder if, personally, I've wondered, and I kind of asked for some Twitter doctor's opinions. I only got one, but he had a serious high ankle sprain to the point where the bone actually broke last year. And then he had the tightrope surgery, which is supposed to be a really quick, easy fix. But I wonder with certain guys, Tony Pollard, Darnell Mooney, maybe it's not as simple as just have this cord, polyethylene cord or whatever, put into your leg surgically, a very invasive procedure, and then all of a sudden you're good. So I worry that maybe that he's still working his way back from that. But I'll tell you what, him doing the full role now, it seems like we're getting the worst of both worlds, where he's getting beat up on the 3rd and 1, and then they turn around and say, hey, do the explosive stuff now. And it's like, when you put a workload on a guy like that, you're draining him for what he's good at and forcing him to do things he's not good at. This team should have been out there trying to get a plotter that can that can handle that other work. I think like a guy like Dwayne McBride out there that was cut by the Vikings and is the exact kind of guy where you don't care if he catches passes. Like that would have been a good guy to do that with. So that's where I'm at with Pollard. I'm disappointed that I thought I was going to get the full loop where I was off him when he was bad and then I was on him when he was good. But then it turns out that he's having a down year, which kind of stinks.
Well, here's my whole deal with Pollard. And I said this before the season. I said this over the last 2 seasons when fantasy football Twitter was clamoring for Tony Pollard to be put in over Zeke. Pollard succeeds in a very limited role. He succeeds when he's on the outside. That's where he's able to make those explosive plays. He also succeeds when he doesn't have to take that workload through the tackles. Now, exactly what you said, Coop. They needed a plotter. That's why I'm so surprised that they didn't bring Zeke back on a reduced salary, that they didn't go out and get Kamara, that they didn't go get that big, low efficiency back who could be successful on a 3rd and 1 something like that. And Tony Pollard had never had more than, I think, 260 carries in his entire career. And now you're out there making him this workhorse back. It just doesn't work. And we're seeing that it doesn't work.
Those guys used to be all over the place. Where'd they all go? Like, there used to be Jordan Howards and Alfred.
They're all in the retirement home is where they're at.
Jeremy Hills all over the place. Like, where are the Jeremy Hills now, dude? Like, there's one Gus Edwards. That's it.
Like, go get Melvin Gordon off the practice squad and let him get 15 carries a game. Like, they should be following the Alvin Kamara, tree of let Kamara take the high value touches, let him take more high leverage carries, high leverage, receiving opportunities. And then, let Pollard have the steak and let Melvin Gordon or Dwayne McBride have the vegetables and the roll in the rolls and stuff like that. The stuff that maybe you don't want as much as the filet mignon. Like, come on, what do we do? Like, the Saints have been doing this for years with Kamara and X-back, whether it's Mark Ingram, whether it's Jamal Williams. Like, that is the kind of blueprint they need to be following, and they're not doing it. They're just running Tony Pollard into the center, and then he eventually goes down. That's pretty much their offense.
The Saints didn't even need Jamal Williams because they have Taysom Hill, dude. They don't even need him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is what it is. Jackie, Kyle, would you trade Lamar Jacobs and Javonte away for Hurts, Gibbs, and B-Rob? My other RBs are the private chat came up. Eckler and Gus. Trade Lamar Jacobs so you can get lateral on the quarterback.
Big trade.
I don't even think it's lateral on the quarterback. I think Hurts is better.
Yeah,
because Lamar's been just very inconsistent.
That's the thing is that I like Jacobs and Javonte better than Gibbs and B-Rob. I think Javante's trending up, but to Britt's point, I don't like you. I think you are taking a little bit of a hit on the Lamar to Hurts. I think I'd probably just rather stick with Lamar, Jacobs, and Javonte though.
So would I. I'd rather have that side for sure.
I worry about B-Rob. The one thing is that of all those players, right? B-Rob is the one that is most game script dependent. I think Gibbs at this stage is probably going to be fine no matter what. Javonte and Jacobs get all the work. B-Rob is the one where there are situations where 2-minute drill, it's Antonio Gibson. So he's kind of the one guy where you can get in playoffs. You got to win 3 straight games. That's the deal. You know what I mean? And if there's one game where they're playing from behind, and Britt pointed out the playoff schedule for the Commanders earlier, and it's bad, right? Like those feel like Antonio Gibson games, don't they?
Yep.
Has there ever really been an Antonio Gibson game though? I mean,
there was this week with him on my bench, so
maybe that's you just put him on your bench and he'll show out.
He's been on my bench. He's been on my bench.
Same. The Joker, what's the trade value for Pollard now? Should you trade him right now or hold him?
I'm holding.
I get holding. I mean, it's all dependent on what your team situation is. If you need, if you need a wide receiver or something, you need some kind of relief on the bye. Like I get that, but just straight up in a vacuum, he's probably a hold for me too.
Yeah, we never answered that other question: Saquon or Pollard. The Tommy, if the quarterback were Tyrod Taylor, I would say Saquon for sure. But with Tommy DeVito, I mean, is Matt Barkley going to start? What are they doing? Are they really just going to start Tommy DeVito and lose by 40 every week?
Looks like that. It does look like that.
That can't be right.
That can't be wavering confidence to trot out former Syracuse quarterback Tommy DeVito.
That can't be the plan, dude. No chance.
Might be. I don't know. We'll see. But
it's Barkley time.
Howard Bender in the chat, by the way. 51 yards only for Kincaid. Killed my parlay. Dude's trash.
Dude, can I just talk about this?
Remove him.
Can I just talk about this? That Josh Allen rushing touchdown, he was looking for Kincaid in the end zone. That would have not only cashed my Kincaid parlay, it would have cashed my Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdowns. Instead, he decided to be selfish. Josh Allen is dead to me. He ruined it for me. He ruined it.
Yeah, Josh Allen also, you can't, obviously the drops are drops. If the ball goes in your hands, you got to catch it. You're a professional NFL wide receiver. But I feel like sometimes Josh Allen could take a little bit off some of these. There was one throw to Dalton Kincaid. It was a 6-yard throw. and Josh Allen's like bazooka time, or just
Yeah.
absolutely threw it's like, do you
A
have
howitzer.
like, dude, it was just an insane throw. The one to Gabe Davis, of course, was downfield. There was a little thinner of a window, but that was also an absolute laser beam. It's like, you don't. He's like one of those like 8-year-old kids that only throws exactly one speed, which is just as hard as you can. You know, it's like maybe a little bit less pepper on some of these.
Yeah, maybe a little more touch or nuance. But look, that Josh Allen touchdown, that put us at a 5-game win streak in pros with Joe. So shout out Scott Larson, by the way. Best co-manager money can buy, I guess. Or charity can buy, I should say.
I'll deal with it.
Hal in the chat, always like to see him every week. 14 team PPR, give Ty Chandler and Rice, assuming Rashi, for Jefferson, that owner is Madison, and offer me Gainwell for Chandler trying to counter. Give Ty Chandler and Rice for Jefferson. I mean,
what for Justin Jefferson?
Run to the podium.
That's not going to stand.
No, it's not. But owner is Madison, offer me Gainwell for Chandler. I'd rather have Ty Chandler than
sure.
Kenny Gainwell right now.
Yeah,
Cam Akers is not coming back. Yeah, Ty Chandler's. I like having Ty Chandler, but if you can trade Ty Chandler in a package for anything, you do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, yeah. I mean, Cam Akers is going to be trying to pull an Aaron Rodgers here and coming back for Week 16. Like, that's not going to be happening for a running back who has had his second Achilles injury in as many years here. So let's, we're up against, we got another like 7-8 minutes. Should we build a showdown lineup? At least this showdown lineup is a little bit better this week than Carolina and Chicago.
A little bit, but
a lot of it.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, look, I'll just put it up here now. I have not taken a super deep look at this slate, but I don't know if I want the quarterback at the captain spot this week. This might be I don't know. Jamar Chase is going to be the chalk, I would say, in the captain slot. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but that's so expensive.
It is. It really kind of handcuffs you as far as what you can do with the rest of your build.
Mark Andrews is a chalk, dude. The Bengals have been so bad against the tight end. They lost both of their safeties in free agency. Both of them. The two players, not just their two starting safeties, not just two borderline, Pro Bowl starting safeties or actual Pro Bowl starting safeties, but the two players that played the most snaps on their defense last season. Both of them played 98% of the snaps last year. And then they just were like, well, we'll figure it out. And they have not. So I like Mark Andrews, man.
Works for me. A lot of the buzz will go around Keaton Mitchell as far as a pay down play, but I would rather have Gus Edwards there for the ownership savings, even though he is a little more expensive. What do you guys think about that?
Ownership savings and the snaps. I think that Edwards is still that back, with Mitchell just being the change-up back, and as explosive as he is, if the touches don't work out when he sees them, I don't really know if it's going to work,
I do think the Ravens roll the Bengals here, honestly. I do think it's a really good spot for the Ravens at home. I think I saw a stat where the Bengals are like 1-25 as road dogs, like going into Baltimore. So I'm going to pull that up, but yeah.
The question with Gus Edwards is, does he score 1 touchdown or does he score 3?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A guy that, if we're going to go, so I know we went with Andrews already. I do like the way Rashad Bateman's been trending. I will say that.
I did too.
That he went from a guy that was playing, that was, at times the 4th guy in snaps on the team, even behind Nelson Aguilar. This week, he played, Zay Flowers ran 30 routes. Most weeks, Zay Flowers runs double-digit more routes than anyone else. Flowers ran 30. He ran 26, and Mark Andrews ran 27. So he's kind of right there playing a lot of 2 wide receiver sets. I think Bateman, at his price, we're catching him on the way up.
Is this something that we can do? We have to have Lamar in here, I would assume.
I wouldn't even go Lamar, honestly.
Would you just go the other way and play a pass catcher and Burrow?
Yeah.
for the
Totally.
comeback.
I mean, honestly, with the price on Bateman is so low that we could start Burrow and Chase, and then we just have to start one more like ringer level player.
I looked at it. I
Like-
wanted to see if we could fit Ravens. We're 600 off.
Just start Tanner Hudson, dude, and then we can start whoever we want.
Yeah, Tanner Hudson did. Yeah,
He's Tanner Hudson.
He sucks,
is,
but I
he's-
think I tweeted out something like early on where like it was everybody had one target and Tanner Hudson had like 6 to start
Right,
the game in the first
yeah.
quarter.
he's Cameron Brate. He's Anthony.
He really
Ferguson.
is though.
He is, and which is on a showdown slate at his price. I mean, we got to look and see who like does it unlock the player that we want to put in? Because sometimes I do these. I swear I find a player like that and I click it and I look at it and I'm like, there's nobody even for $2,000 like within the range of what I want.
Mhm.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we have 1,400 left over. If we could, I'm trying to see
Oh,
who-
it would have been perfect if T. Higgins was playing because he would have been able to afford him. Wait, how
Yeah.
much you have left over?
we have, I
1,400.
mean, leaving money is fine in Showdown. It's completely
Yeah.
fine, but
Oh,
I'm
because you have
just-
Gus Edwards in there.
yeah.
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 I think that's
God,
fine. I actually like this.
4,800 for Bateman just seems wild to me.
Well, he hasn't done a damn thing.
He's
So,
so
so
I-
I think that might actually be what's driving the price, is the fact that he hasn't done anything.
I mean, I
Yeah.
get that, but I still feel like I guess the sharp players will be on that, like as
Right.
like the sharp chalk.
I
But
mean,
there
he just played in a game where 64 points were scored and he had 2 catches. So I mean, that is that side of it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Yeah, and just looking through here, Boyd's not super attractive right now. Zay Flowers has come down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, not playing Mixon, don't have to play Lamar. Yeah, I'm good with this.
Do
Put
it.
this in. We'll definitely put this in somewhere here. Got a couple minutes here. We can answer a couple more questions in the chat. Let's see what we got
What you
going
What you got,
on
Chad?
here, gang. If you guys see
Hal
something.
said Dontavian Wicks over Christian Watson.
Honestly,
know
it's
the-
been that way.
Yeah, it really has. Like, it's like the player you trust versus the player you don't. Like, Green Bay can trust Dontavian Wicks, and Green Bay always falls into guys that are drafted later. Like, they were using Samari Toure last year. They were obviously using Romeo Dobbs last year. Like, they always find these like late round guys. And Dontavian Wicks was like a pretty decent athlete, and he's been trustworthy. So why wouldn't they use him? And good Lord, I mean, Jaden Reed had a pretty good game last week, but before that, he's been like a rotational, almost gadgety type player.
Right.
Like, Green Bay's still trying to find their way with all these guys. That's like the one thing. And it doesn't help that it's the youngest pass catching group in the league. I mean, the youngest offense in the league, certainly. And then you've got Jordan Love, who is just getting his first group of starts in the NFL. So it's really tough to kind of quantify that. And it's tough because we're all biased about, or not biased, but with CJ Stroud being as awesome as he has been early on, and then seeing a guy who's been in a system for multiple years just look subordinary.
Yeah. No, totally. All right. How many more questions do we have in here?
I got to jump because it's
Yeah.
1:55. I'm going to be on the next show as well, Alarm Fantasy Football with Howard Bender. So if you have more questions that we didn't hit, stay tuned. Stay on this channel. We will be right here with y'all. But thanks for having me, guys. I will be on the other side.
Yeah, we will duck out of here as well. So Coop did not want to wait for us to do that because we get it. We're busy people. We get that. But Britt, anything else before we hop on out of here? I know you were obviously nooging it up in Chattanooga, so you came in a little bit late. But anything else before we hop on out of here?
Yeah. Britt's Fantasy Blitz is coming back on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So that will be Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. And I also have a new series of sleeper picks articles coming out on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays for these games. So make sure to check that out over at fantasyalarm.com.
I don't know if this is. Yeah, and my target report bullet points video coming out momentarily, probably in the next hour or so. talked a lot about Jalen Warren and what his kind of ascension is meaning for fantasy football now that he's taken a lot of early down work. So tune in for that. That'll be that won't be live. That will be just right on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. So go ahead and check that out in about an hour or so. Other than that, of course, Target Report every Thursday, every snap, every route, everything on Thursday mornings, afternoons. So check that out on the website. For Coop, for Britt, Kevin Tompkins, we will see you next week, and I'll give you toodles.